Hi. Oh my gosh. Welcome back. For all those tuning in, we're so excited that you came to celebrate with us tonight and to listen in and to slightly be a little bit nosy. But we're here for that. My name is Arya Saeed, and I am a co founder and the president of the Transgender District. For those who may not know about the Transgender District, we are the world's first legally recognized district of its kind, and we're based right here in San Francisco's Tenderloin neighborhood. Our work was founded by Black trans women to create um, an area, a neighborhood that celebrates the ongoing presence and the resilience of transgender people in this neighborhood. And we're so very proud of that and excited to celebrate Pride with you in this way. Our effort tonight is a pretty juicy and exciting one. We have some incredible panelists and thought leaders who are actors and models and entertainers and writers in Hollywood, in media and in entertainment. And we're so excited to be in conversation with them. We created this effort, the State of Transgender Visibility series, to highlight the experiences that trans people are navigating while holding trans visibility. And as transgender visibility keeps growing, there is a way that we are very privileged to see more and more trans people on television and in magazines and commercials. And what does that mean in a world where we also see the very scary realities that trans people are facing across the country, with more and more anti-trans legislation pieces across the United States, and more negative rhetoric coming from people about trans people in our bodies and our experiences. And so we are holding both. And as a cultural district, we wanted to investigate what that means, but from a transgender lens. I'm excited to share with you all that our work is led by transgender people of color ourselves. And I think many of you all will get to see that in a lot of our programming and our efforts. And so tonight's event is very special, and I'm so glad you're tuning in. And I'm just helping y'all buy a little time as the panelists finish hair and makeup. But until then, I'd like to encourage you to consider donating to the Transgender District and to explore more about our work. And you can do those things by checking out our website at www.transgenderdistrictsf.com. I'm also excited to thank our incredible sponsors who have helped make these events and these efforts quite possible for us. And we have a broad imagination here at the Transgender District, and without the support of our sponsors and the money that they do donate to our work, these things would not be possible. And so I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you to Decium Skincare for their ongoing support of our work. You can check out their product line at Decium and at a Sephora store near you. There's also Lululemon, which is an athleisure company. We're so proud to be in partnership with them. Levi Strauss, and finally, Solar Wave Beauty, where this month, proceeds of your purchase of their incredible advanced skincare system do benefit our work at the Transgender District, specifically our housing program, which is called HOT. It's HOTT, Housing Opportunities for Transgender Tenants. And I actually have these little items. Oh, look at me, I'm like a YouTuber. Oh my gosh. Solar Wave Advanced Skincare Wand and Conductive Serum, if you can see that. Excuse my nails. We've been super busy, but anyways, I don't want to hold you. Be sure to check out our work, transgenderdistrictsf.com. Thank you all so much for supporting tonight's event, for tuning in, for supporting all of our events. And this will be our last virtual program of this kind for a little bit. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. And now I'd like to introduce our next speaker, who is an incredible woman, and she works here at the Transgender District. Her name is Iris Vera. She's our executive associate here at the Transgender District, where she oversees so much of our efforts. And give a shout out to Juniper Yoon and Jupiter Peraza, who are running all the tech and behind the scenes backstage magic that's happening virtually. So Iris, take it away. Iris, you're muted. You're on mute.
Oh my God, it would not be a streaming
right.
with not technical difficulties. Oh my gosh, I'm so nervous. Just kidding. I'm a Leo rising, so I'm not nervous. But thank you so much, Aria. I am so excited to introduce everyone. I'm from LA. I actually once upon a time used to work in entertainment in Hollywood 10 years ago. I'm a little bit older than I look. But yeah, at that time, there wasn't a lot of trans people visible in entertainment. And when I worked in Hollywood, it was very lonely. I mean, you know, I was just telling a colleague of mine that, you know, I compromised my own identity when I worked in Hollywood. You know, I was, you know, as they say, living part-time. I had a manager at the time who wanted me to live androgynous. And, you know, he thought that I was going to make it androgynous. And it was so lonely for me. But now I am so overwhelmed with happiness because I cannot believe the state of trans visibility in Hollywood right now. Like, it's so joyous for me. So I will stop talking and I will introduce T.S. Madison. I can't believe she's here. Zoe Luna, Amaya Scott, Ian Harvey, Nava Mao, and of course, our moderator, Raquel Willis. I can't believe I'm in the presence of such beauty and beautiful trans people. So Raquel Willis, take it away.
Yes, thank you so much, Iris, for that warm introduction. And of course, I have to give so much love to my sister, Aria Saeed. It's always wonderful to be in the presence of the Transgender District staff, and also another shout out to Juniper and Jupiter. So this is going to be a powerful night. It's such an honor. You know, we are doing the finale to this visibility series that the district has been pioneering here for Pride Month. And I am a writer, activist, and media strategist here tonight, and apparently your host. So I'm really excited for this conversation. I'm going to give a little context as well. So obviously in May 2014, there was this legendary Time magazine cover. We had Laverne Cox in a navy blue bandage dress, defiant expression, and outstretched finger heralding what was being called the transgender tipping point. Now, it's undisputable or indisputable that that moment came to encapsulate what we now come to discuss as the trans visibility moment or era. But of course, narratives written and curated by cis folk only give us half the story. That's just a little bit of shade. Also, as you can learn by watching a landmark documentary disclosure that came out last year on the history of trans representation in Hollywood, trans folks have always been here. And well, our folks have always had people who had a lot to say about us, but now we're taking those reins into our own hands. So in the interest of continuing the work of reclaiming our experiences and narratives from industries that resist fully seeing us, bigoted politicians trying to pass more than 100 pieces of legislation to restrict our rights, this conversation tonight is stacked up to be enlightening and powerful. So I'm going to give you a little bit more about our illustrious panel. we have Amaya Scott, who is an actress, model, author, and LGBTQ advocate, best known as Cotton on Lee Daniels' Star on Fox. With this role, Amaya broke history and became the first transgender actress to play a trans character on a major network television series. There's so much more. She was recently featured as a guest judge on season 2 of HBO Max's Legendary and in Saucy Santana's music video for the iconic social media anthem Walk. Welcome, my sister.
Girl, thank you so much for that introduction. You just got me smiling so big. I'm so happy to be a part and to be here with my sisters. Like, I think that that's what makes this moment so special, because I've been waiting to talk to so many of these ladies. And yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
Yes, and thank you so much. I mean, even before you were on the big screen, of course, you pioneered so much, especially giving the girls a look and as well being a possibility model. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Of course. All right. So we are going to bring into the conversation Zoe Luna, who was one of the first transgender youth public figures and shared her life story through several documentaries and interviews, including Laverne Cox Presents the T Word, Raising Zoe, and has made guest appearances on reality shows like I Am Jazz, I Am Kate, and Dr. Drew. Zoe is a youngin' here, but definitely not a youngin' to the spotlight. And she recently appeared in the 2020 movie, The Craft Legacy, where she played the character Lourdes. And I know there's so much more that you're working on, but thank you for taking time to be with us today.
Oh my God, thank you for having me. That was so awesome. I loved hearing all of that. And definitely, I did not take any time out of my non-busy schedule to be here.
Of course. Well, I know that we are just blessed to be in your presence. And of course, for trans youth around the country right now, you have paved the way for a lot of them. And so thank you for that service so far.
I owe it all to you, and not to say that all of y'all are my elders, but I owe it to my sisters that ran so that I could fucking walk and sit here and just look pretty. So thank you.
I love it. Well, I'll take it. We making elderhood look good, ain't we? Mm-hmm. All right. Well, bringing in someone who I definitely don't want to call an elder, right? She's more like a big sis to a lot of us, maybe an auntie to a few of us. Madison Hinton, better known as T.S. Madison. She is a media personality, a mogul, and a social media legend, of course. Wait a minute. Is this thing on, honey? Are we live?
Is this thing on? Is this bitch recording, honey? Yes. How you doing?
Absolutely. I'm doing so well. And I love that you're going to be a part of our conversation tonight. Obviously, you have a sprawling fan base and followership, but you have had a meteoric rise in the last year with your own reality television show breaking ground there on WeTV's The T.S. Madison Experience. And you will be featured really soon. I mean, you know this, but maybe our people watching don't know this. In Zola, and I'm really excited.
Well, they better know.
Okay.
They better know, goddamn it.
And if they don't know, they're gonna know by the end of this panel.
And they better know. Listen. I'd like to say I'm very happy to be amongst all of you ladies. We are all pioneers in our own rights, and we just still have to do the work. The work must continue to be done so that the girls that come behind us, can have a smoother way for the girl that comes behind them. And I'm just so excited to be here. Amaya, you look good, baby. You do too, Zoe. With that pussy voice you got. Wait a minute, how much can we cuss on here now?
Oh Lord, look, they didn't give me a censor, so I don't think you got one.
Oh, listen, Zoe, that voice so pussy. That voice so pussy, girl. I almost recorded that to use it as my intro on the chat line, baby.
Thank you. Hi, guys.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we've had a few of our sisters. We have one more coming up, but I definitely want to take a quick second. We're going to bring in one of our brothers and a pioneer of trans masculine representation in comedy and, of course, in Hollywood, Ian Harvey. Yes.
Hi,
Hey,
Ian.
everybody. Hi.
Now, if you don't know, Ian pretty much does it all. He is an actor, a comedian, and a writer known for important work on Transparent on Amazon, Mistresses on ABC, Young and Hungry on Freeform, and of course on the reboot of Will and Grace on NBC. And I have to say, you know, you have your off-Broadway chops here in New York, where I'm based. You see, they got me up late, y'all. So I must love my community, honey.
You must.
But I will say, I love reading about you, Ian, because I love that you talk about those comedy stylings that influenced you, like the Carol Burnett Show, Flip Wilson, Celebrity Roast, so much more, and SNL. So
Absolutely.
welcome.
Yeah. I so many influences that Flip Wilson and Carol Burnett are actually super like at the top of like, I mean, I don't emulate them, but I definitely aspire to be as funny as them. And yeah, I just, I grew up in the, 70s and early 80s, and I was watching all that kind of stuff with my parents when I was a kid. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And of course, I got a plug for you also. If folks want to check out just specifically your work, May the Best Cock Win is available. So please check it out.
Yeah, that's that was the first time that I think a trans guy had a 1 hour special. And so I did, and I wanted it to be named in a way that people skimming, through Amazon or, through their streamers, when they were looking at titles of what should they watch for a comedy special, I was like, I gotta name it something after a joke that has a punchline, but I was like, that's the title. So anyway, yeah, May the Best Cock Win. Does get a lot of hits just for the title. So.
Of course. Well, I'm going to bring in our last sister and panelist, and of course, certainly not the least, one of my really good friends, Good Judy's, from our days, honey, in the Bay Area, Nava Mao. Welcome.
Hi.
Yes,
Hi, Nava.
She is a filmmaker, an actress, and a cultural worker, a mixed race trans Latina who has lived in Mexico City, San Antonio, and Oakland. As I said, she has written, produced, directed, and starred in the short film Waking Hour, which I was so glad to cover when I was editor at Out Magazine. And she also was a production fellow on the Netflix documentary Disclosure, which I mentioned at the top of this conversation. So please check it out. There's so much more, but recently she appeared as a series regular in the HBO Max series Generation and was featured in Flaunt magazine, talking about many of the themes that we'll be talking about tonight. So welcome, Nava.
Hi, thank you for having me. I think it means so much that we get to do this together, and I'm so excited to meet everybody. Even if it's just virtually, I think we're going to have a great conversation.
Of course. Thank you. Well, I want to open up for us with a really a general question. We talk a lot about visibility as this thing that's kind of off in the distance that's happening to somebody else. But I'm curious for y'all tonight, when was the moment that you knew you were visible? And maybe I'll start with you, Zoe, and then we'll kind of go around.
For me, it's kind of ridiculous. I didn't feel actually visible until recently, like a couple months ago, when I sat down and watched Veneno. because I feel like there's not that many representations for trans Latina. I mean, although she's from Spain, you know, I feel like there wasn't much for me to watch and to relate to and see. Obviously, like there has been people like Jazz Jennings, like all of you and everyone who has been pioneering, but I never saw a story that specifically went out of its way to not just explain the experience of being a trans person, but that also explained the experience of being a trans person with other shit in their life involved. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like that was something so groundbreaking for me to see. And I finally realized what good representation looked like to me, and not to discredit anyone else's representation or anything, but that was definitely the show that really felt like, okay, there is change happening and there is hope for what our media can look like.
Absolutely. Amaya, how about you? Can you chime in here about when the first time you felt visible?
Wow. So I think that it was something that I struggled with, being trans. And then I think it was, well, I want to say first, I think that things are changing. And I think that the way that we view things and the way that things are, like, basically when I first came out, like, which was some time ago, but I don't want to say how old I am, but I think to be trans was to be self. I was told that we move away, we start a new life, and that's that, you know? So I almost grew up thinking that that's kind of what was necessary for me to be trans and to enjoy myself. The older that I got, though, I began to see that I can still stand in my transness, and it doesn't take away or dictate kind of like my womanhood or who I am. So I think that I became visible probably around the age of 17 when I started walking balls and the clip started to circulate, because that's when conversations started to be had. And social media wasn't nearly as big as it was now, or well, like as big as it is now. But even back then on Facebook and MySpace, people would make little comments and things like that, like, yo, is that, or is she this? So I think it was at those moments when I started to kind of come like into the forefront that my visibility was kind of like a lot greater than what it had been, like say in New Orleans or something like that.
Absolutely. And shout out to New Orleans. I know you have so much family and loved ones and community down there. Yeah, you know, what's interesting for me as we talk about this moment of when you first felt visible, Amaya, I remember obviously witnessing you on social media and being like, oh, okay, this is us. And of course, that was in the same kind of earlier era of I think social media as you, Madison, as well, right? And so, can you talk about your experience in realizing your visibility?
Well, I knew my visibility and how impactful it was when, I was introduced to things going viral on the internet before things were supposed to go viral. Lots of lots of cis women can say that I'm one of the first trans girls, honey, that they've had to snatch away from their computers, from their man's computers, and things of that nature. You know, when they got introduced to the online situation. So and I mean, I was just trying to do my job, but when I became like really understood that I became really visible on the internet outside of my former work, was when Vine kind of like blew up. But I was on YouTube and all this stuff long before, talking about just coming to the internet to vent. Like I use the internet to just break free of everything that was going on in my world around me, and I didn't have anybody really to talk to, so I just decided to open up my world and talk to a bunch of strangers. And when that happened, those strangers really became my family, and they followed me on my journey from survival work all the way over here now to be an executive producer of the T.S. Madison Experience. And so it's such a good thing to be able to grow and then watch yourself, Amaya, being able to watch yourself go from this little old thing to this big old thing and have such impact and influence over television and media without even really knowing that this is what's going on. Like they're writing stories about you and you and creating characters about you, and you sitting at home watching this like, wait a minute, that's something I said or did. Hold on. You know, and that's when I knew that like the impact was real.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, y'all's impact is undeniable on not just Hollywood and entertainment, but of course the culture writ large. Nava, what about you? When did you first realize your visibility?
You know, I definitely have not really been on as big of a platform as everybody else here. And so it's more recent that I started to kind of like hear from people. So I think it's usually one-on-one when somebody refers to my work, it makes me kind of take stock of the fact that the nature of our work is that we don't even realize the impact that it can have on people. So I was starting to mentor this screenwriter who's a trans Latina who lives in New York City. And she sent me this document of like, she's trying to make this film. And she was like, these are the filmmakers that I want to try to emulate. And my name was on there. And I was like, it just didn't make sense to me. Cause I very much think of myself as still trying to make it. And so it's been moments like that, starting to hear from people that I apparently went to high school with, and they are watching the show. And I think that's the difference that I think we're starting to see in representations of trans people on screen, is that people who are also trans and who live in places like San Antonio or don't live even near us, like they see themselves in those representations. So it means a lot to me.
Absolutely. And Ian, what about you? I mean, you've been in the game for a minute as well. Can you talk about when visibility hit you, I guess?
It's funny. I think when I moved to LA from Maine, I want to say probably it was 2006, and I started opening for a much bigger comic. Of course, people know who Margaret Cho is, but I was opening for her on the road, and I remember saying to her that I was terrified to come out and tell people that I was trans. I had trans material. I wanted to be open about it, but I was nervous to say that on stage. And she said, you know what? Nobody's doing that. Trans people need representation. You are needed. We need you to do this. And that really struck me in a way that I hadn't thought of it that way. I was so like nervous about my safety, or nervous about like what would happen to me, after a comedy club. We walk out, of a comedy club on the backside of Nashville after I just didn't know what would happen to me. And then I realized that it's not what will happen to me. It was like what will happen for others if I am out and present. And so I think the very first time that I understood it was then, and was seen. But also I think when the first time, or first few times that young trans guys messaged me on Facebook and said something like, I didn't know I existed until I saw you. And that many of them shared that was life-saving for them. So I felt like that's when I was seen, because it meant something other than me trying to move through the world as just simply a stand-up comic. I was moving through the world with a different mission then. And that, so I guess that, being told that I was needed to be a representative, and then speaking to people that felt that I was giving them a lens into their existence that they hadn't had before. So both of those things.
Yeah, I mean, you've done so much. So many of y'all on this panel, your work has been in so many lanes. I mean, you're all multi-hyphenates at this point. And I wonder about what those moments of kind of transitioning out, not that kind of transition. This is not that kind of panel. I'm not going one-on-one, y'all. Transitioning out of one role into kind of moving into another space, what that was like for you. So maybe Amaya, can you talk to us about what it was like auditioning in those first roles? I mean, 'cause you broke history with your role as Cotton.
Thank you. So it was extremely stressful. I say stressful because, well, with the auditioning process, not having like acting experience was stressful. But I think that I related so much to my character of Cotton. Like I felt like Cotton was me, but like much earlier during my transition. So it was kind of me kind of reliving my life, which at points was slightly traumatic almost, because we had to retouch bases on a lot of themes, kind of difficult like topics and stuff like that. But I think that the experience, like, I don't know how to explain it, because though you're thankful to be there, like I think when you look around and you're the only person there, sometimes you almost kind of feel like a token, you know? I don't want to get too deep into that, but you know, like I think that that's part of the experience as well. Like looking around and it's like it's nobody who's like me or someone that I can relate to, and it's like, oh, I'm so thankful to be here. Like I wish that there were more. Like I wish that I wouldn't have to be the only trans person on set, you know, and that's usually like how it is.
Yeah. Has it changed for you since then?
Like I would say that it changed, maybe not for me personally, but period. I've seen shows like Pose. I saw like it's many ensemble casts where they're putting together more girls and like more trans men, and I love that. Yeah, like I think the themes are definitely changing, but I think as far as what I've experienced, it was kind of lonely, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, Madison, I want to hear about your experience, especially with this latest role in Zola. You know, do you feel like things have kind of shifted in Hollywood where you can kind of show up and just be yourself and not have to have all these kind of one-on-one obligations around your identity and different things?
Well, my character is Hollywood, and she's the house mother of the club. And I don't even think we got into, is she trans? Is she cis? I don't even know. It was just T.S. Madison come here and lend T.S. Madison, you know, to this role. And I remember praying, and I say this to people that follow me. I remember praying and asking God, because I'm like, God, I really want to see more trans people in Hollywood, like black ones like me, but I can't act, you know? And so I remember saying, God, could you just send me roles or send me parts that are specifically tailored and, you know, contoured for me, so that I don't really have to go outside my I don't have to go outside of and trying to memorize lines, and you know. And so lately here, you know, God's been sending me scripts and lines that are tailored for T.S. Madison. But then just the other day, I said I want to challenge myself and ask God to give me something different. I want Him to improve me, improve my confidence, so that I could go outside of my comfort zone and really embody another character. I really want to know what it's like to be another character now, instead of just T.S. Madison.
Absolutely. Now, Nava, what was your experience? I mean, we're going to go from you, Madison, being house mother, and Zola, who we'll see on the screen soon, to Nava, you were essentially a mother figure in your role on Generation. Do you feel like you were able to be more than just a trans woman in that role, or a trans Latina in that role?
I mean, so they made the interesting choice to not have my character disclose that she's trans. She actually still never really says those words. It's not until a later episode that it's like in the script acknowledge that she's trans. So, I mean, I think that that's a complicated thing, because I think for some people in the audience, they may not realize that she's trans. And I think there's still so much power in that, in like identifying a character as trans, especially a character like Anna, who is playing this motherly role and is, you know, helping these kids out so much. It means a lot that is a trans woman who's doing that. And so, on the other hand, it is kind of cool that, you know, just 7 years after Laverne Cox first appeared on Orange is the New Black, we are having characters written who are trans, but the storyline does not at all rely on that character being trans. So I think that speaks to why it's so necessary to have multiple and many representations of trans people, so that we're not always expecting each trans character to hit all the check boxes, because that's impossible.
Absolutely. Now, I know we could talk this question into the ground, but I want to kick it over to the production side of things, because we often don't talk enough about how important it is for trans creators to also be producers, right? That we don't always have to just be in front of the screen. And Ian, I know you've done on-screen work and of course behind the scenes, but what does it mean to have had experiences where you could produce your own content on your own terms?
In the last probably 2 years, I've been a writer-producer and a producer on a couple different projects that, you know, I have to say that they all had a primary trans character. So, and it was a trans guy character, trans masculine character. So, and went out to networks to pitch these shows and to try to go into development with them. But the work leading up to that, I have to say, I was so happy that I was sought out as someone that might have something to offer to this project and asked to be part of. And, you know, a couple times, I was up sort of against other people as a writer-producer, as an executive producer, a potential executive producer on a scripted show that, it's almost, it felt great to be there and to be there based on my talents. And even though they wanted someone to be trans and to understand what, who this character was, and to, I guess, to, and ultimately not be just a poster boy, but to truly help bring this story to life. I don't know. I felt like it wasn't just my transness, that it was also my talent. And I think that is something that feels like people are just starting to get the hang of in the industry of, like, okay, you don't have to invite me because I'm trans. But that, yes, I am, but also now I am up sort of against my own trans, siblings in getting this job. And so I guess that, if then it really felt like it wasn't about being trans, it was about my talent and what I could offer or bring my stories to this project and the vision that I had for something. And so I feel like there's a wee bit of, progress in that I'm being invited partially because I'm trans, but then I'm also being asked to actually truly bring my talents to things. And I think that's, like I said, I think it's happening a little bit more, but I don't think enough. And I think one of the biggest issues, and I'm not going to take a dark turn here by any means, but one of the biggest issues in Hollywood is employment of trans people. It's not, I do think that there is an issue with non-trans people playing trans roles. I do think that's an issue. But the bigger issue for me is that trans people need to be employed, and we have been overlooked so many times because of our transness, because of people's fear. So I think that the issue in Hollywood is about, I think there should be mandates, and quotas in every department of production, and front of the camera, on the backside, everything. So I'm off on the tangent on the last part there, but hopefully you catch my drift.
No, I catch it. And, I mean, look, that's the spicy question, right? Because I was actually going to ask that next, was how do people feel about about cis actors playing trans roles, right? Because there are people who have different thoughts about that. And Zoe, I wonder, can you take this one, especially coming off the craft legacy and everything that you've done?
Yeah, I definitely don't agree with cis people playing trans roles. Do I agree with trans people playing cis roles? Fuck it. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah.
Oh, we got everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like trans people should be allowed to play any role that resonates with their identity, with their gender expression or whatever. But I'm tired of seeing us not have jobs because of others, people not trusting us. And I know, for an example, like for me, like when I go onto sets, I'm Latina and I'm also trans, and I feel like because people don't know, I have this weird feeling that people look at me like I'm unkept because I'm not a cis white male. And so I feel like a lot of the times they don't trust us because of what they think about us and their projections of their own filth of who we are. So I feel like for a lot of the reasons why they cast cis people to play us is because they don't see us as people outside of like a bedroom activity, and also because they just don't know if we're easy to work with. And yeah, that's how I feel about it, kind of.
Well, I'd like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
And I want you to be like 100% honest with me, Zoe. Do you think that at times they don't understand the pulling power that we have too? Because when you start saying that you want to cast a trans person in the lead, or you want to cast a person of trans experience, in a prominent part, do you think that sometimes they say, "Oh well, I don't know, people will come out to the theaters or will come out to the or show up to spend money to see it"?
It's a mixed bag for sure, because I feel like that has two parts to it. I feel like a part of it is like what production, like the people who pay to make these movies feel like. I feel like part of them thinks that they're not going to be able to sell a movie based off of us being trans and having us in a lead role. But also at the same time, I've personally been a victim of being used as like trans inclusivity so that my movie could get more tickets. But then at the end of the day, all of my scenes were cut. So I feel like they are very aware that we have this pull and that it's very on trend right now, as they say, to have us in these films. But at the same time, I feel like it's really a mixed bag on who you're working with and which company, to be honest. I don't know if that answers that question correctly, but.
Right. Yeah, it does. It does, because I will say that in this situation, what's going on with me now with Zola and A24 has been like amazing. Like they're the reason why I'm out here in California right now and doing the work I'm doing. But A24 has been amazing. WeTV has been amazing. AMC Networks has been amazing to me. But I know that times that when I'm watching stuff, I'm like, well, what do they not think that we're gonna be the draw? Like, do they not know that we have like huge fan bases and stuff like that? And when they cast us in these roles and stuff, like sometimes they'll say, oh, co-starring. What I like about with Zola is that they like starring, isn't it? And they use my voice over for the stuff, and they're making sure that I'm paid. So whoever's over there at A24, thank you, Shanda Didi Yarabosi. Thank you. for making sure that that y'all take care of the girls. And I really wish that more studios and production companies and things like that take care of their trans actors and actresses like that.
I think that if I can add to that, I totally agree, and amen to A24 doing that. I think that production companies and studios need to be challenged about their old ideas about what people will come and fucking see. It's like that it's like these old executives that have this old model in their head that it doesn't, it's like a lot of them have sort of died off, I'm sure, but there's still this old notion that you must cast somebody, really big in that role in order for it's like, and that's just not true anymore. It's, YouTube stars prove that every day. So these people must be challenged that notion is, it's basically made up at this point. It used to be that way, but it's not anymore. People have their own minds. If it looks good, they'll go see it. It doesn't have to have somebody attached to it in order for them to go see it. Absolutely.
Well, and I see you nodding, Amaya, and I want to bring you into this conversation. I'm not going to say the name of the project, but I know recently you came out saying that your name was attached to a project that actually it didn't turn out the way that it should have, and there were kind of some weird dynamics there, but particularly with some of the actual actors in it being transphobic against trans women and how that kind of impacted the production. Can you talk a little bit more, and not necessarily about that specific instance, but what people should do when co-actors are acting transphobic?
So I think that the thing with the situation is that, just like we said, that we were trying to get more trans people in front of the cameras, to get more trans people behind the cameras, to get more trans people inside of the room. That was the opportunity that was brought to me about this particular movie. But I think that the biggest thing is that me trying to make a difference, or me having certain opinions that and I think that my trans brothers and sisters can relate. Sometimes, like, it's kind of like I would rather not be involved if it's going to be in a negative way. Does that make sense? And I think that sometimes they use our transness, they use our trans stories, they use our trauma, but it's in no way to benefit us. It's like it's all to take or to be used. And I think, the long story short, there were like a lot of things I was brought in for my opinion on the script. But me being honest, I think that they just wanted to attach my name to it. The only trans person who was associated with the film at all, not the actors, not behind the scenes, not anything, but they wanted to attach me to it, not take any of my advice like about the movie, and then still push it out. So the only thing is that I was not supposed to be credited. But I say that to say that even once we get into the rooms, just the opportunity, like, I didn't feel like the opportunity was good enough for me to stand by it. So it doesn't mean that I wasn't in there trying to make a difference or trying to say what's right. But my opinion, like, I don't feel like they actually wanted it, I think that that's many of the times. Like, I'm tired of trans stories kind of like having to revolve around trauma. I'm tired of the same trans maybe prostitute or just the unhappy endings. I just wish that it could be, it's time for us to tell different stories. I feel like we've done that. I feel like we can step outside of that box. So that was one of the issues that I had with that movie. But we need trans stories told by trans people, and we need them told accurately.
Yes, somebody said.
I don't disagree with you. I feel like, I do and I don't agree with you on like the prostitute aspect, because personally I know a lot of trans girls who are my age and younger who are selling their bodies for money, because it is a real struggle out there. So I feel
but
like
it's
at the end
to
of the
interrupt
day,
you, babe. But it's not to interrupt you, but that's a reality for a lot of people who are on this panel right now, myself included. But I'm saying that we have so much more to show than that. Like, I would use as an example, just like being a person of color. It's like I don't want to constantly see slave movies. Like, I feel like we can do other things. We can show other aspects. Like, we've been over that. I mean, majority of the trans roles that I read are surrounded by trauma. So it wasn't me saying that a prostitute is something that's bad or I'm looking down on that, but I'm saying that we should be doctors in movies. We should have happiness. We can have families. We can do so many things to just be shoved into that one box of a street walking transsexual or someone who is ignorant or someone that is lesser than. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. And I'm not trying to discredit or say that I don't agree with that. We have what's the word, that there's more to our stories. I mean, obviously, like, I have a privileged story. You know, I had a mother that was accepting, but at the same time, I personally don't think that it's fair to not to kind of erase what also is being shown on all sides. If there's a way that we can have every part of that included in the narratives, then I would much prefer that in that aspect, if that makes sense. You know
No,
what
no,
I
no,
mean?
totally. No, like I totally get it, but I don't think that it's erasing it. But I think that we have more stories to tell. We have more realities to tell. I feel like they throw us those little roles or those moments like, we're here, you're trans, and this is what you can do. And I feel like our lives are so multifaceted. Of course, we've all lived in our truth. Of course, we've all been in different situations, but I wish that go beyond that, not taking away from certain realities, but expanding to something more than that, because I feel like we definitely are. And I feel like that's the only, like, they want us to be trans and to play trans because that's what makes them feel comfortable.
Well, I want us to talk maybe about what those stories we want to see are. So Nava, I don't know if you want to weigh in on the last question, but I also would love to hear your thoughts on what stories do we need to see and hear about the trans experience?
Well, I think, you know, from a screenwriting perspective, there's a way to tell a story that acknowledges trauma and that acknowledges, you know, oppression. But then the plot can be about healing. The plot does not have to be about trauma. And I think that that's a problem that we continue to see. And a lot of times too, like, you know, the roles that come my way tend to be these secondary supporting characters that are serving the main character's journey. And a lot of times it's like this like struggle that gets attached to trans character is meant to inform this main character's triumph or their lesson. And so I think that, like, I'm hearing from both Amaya and Zoe, like, we could just have more acknowledgement of what it actually means to be trans and the triumph and what it looks like when we heal and when we are well and when we are successful. Because I think there's such an imbalance in what we've been able to see from trans people on screen. And so for me, I'm like, we need the sci-fi. You know, we need like the rom-coms. We need the like futurist Western, like we need to get more creative with the way that trans characters and trans actors are being incorporated into the kinds of stories that Hollywood is telling. Because so far there has been this pigeonholing of like, it's just kind of like trauma drama. And if it's comedy, then it's like, you know, we're the punchline or we're just there for comic relief. And so I think that it would just be so much more nourishing for my spirit. And I think that for a lot of people in the audience to see trans people in roles that we haven't already seen. So I'm ready to see the aliens. I'm ready to see, you know, as Amaya said, the doctors, and
something.
all of that, yeah.
I definitely agree with that as well. And I never wanted to say that I didn't or that I think that we should just be stuck in those roles. I didn't get it finished at first when I was, you know, speaking on my subject, but I do agree that we need to show more different variety of us. And I do believe that that's important. And as a person who played a trans teen witch for the first major motion picture, I mean, I know how important that is for other young trans girls to see that as well. So do I believe in dismantling and erasing one part of our journey? No. And do I believe that we should also show variety and maintain the balance? Exactly. And so I really agree with what both of you said. And yeah, I don't think that it's fair that we constantly are being, put in these boxes of what we once came from and always having these traumas. And I really agree with what you said on healing, because, I've had a pretty privileged life, but there's been a lot of shit that a lot of people don't know about me. And there's a lot of things that I've had to deal with too. And there's so many stories and narratives out there where we don't ever get to see that as well. So I totally agree with all sides.
Wait, but I have a question though. Excuse me. Because I feel like maybe my comment was misunderstood by Zoe, but I said that me wanting to see us in more roles, like doesn't mean that I want to change or dismantle or anything like that.
And I didn't misunderstand that, but I also wanted to address the need to continue to also make sure that there is that as well. Because personally, I actually have been writing something of my own. And when I was talking to a writer about it, she was also trans and told me that that needs to be completely discontinued in this industry. So more so, I wasn't misunderstanding.
So it was personal.
Yes, it was personal. And also I was just more so elaborating on the fact that I think that that's so important to see that as well. But in no way did I misunderstand what you were saying.
No, so I want to pull us back a little bit, because I think we are in that question, honey, and we got a bunch more questions that our audience wants to get to. Ian, you have returned.
Sorry about that. I lost my internet connection for a second.
Which is perfect. I mean, you losing internet is not perfect, but you being back is perfect, because I really wanted us to get into talking about comedy. And so, Ian, obviously as a comedian, I'm wondering, what are your thoughts on the state of comedy right now? And of course, we've had a lot of moments in the last few years of anti-trans material in the comedic world, being in headlines. What do you make of this moment and the reckoning that should be happening in comedy?
I feel really bad for cis men who are not feeling safe about potentially being canceled for what might come out of their mouth in comedy. I don't feel bad. I'm joking. I would say, the state of comedy, first of all, was nil during pandemic. I mean, the only thing that was happening, was we were all freaking out trying to figure out what we were going to do for money. But prior to that, and now that it's sort of back up and running, of course, we have primarily cis, white, straight men who are, making comments about the legitimacy of people's existence or not. And so I'd say that the trans population of comics who are speaking out against a lot of these guys like Joe Rogan, that meathead, saying anything anti-trans, and like Robin Tran, if you're not familiar, is an incredible, funny trans woman stand-up comic, Jay McBride. And people are taking on, the great thing is that people are taking them on, like just head to head, like absolutely, without a doubt, like just going after them. And, I think one of the problems historically is when people say something and people do not answer to it. And we have a culture of now in comics, myself and other trans comics and non-binary folks that are in the comedy world that are like, absolutely not okay anymore. Can't do it anymore. And so I really love the countering, like, you know what, like that's not okay anymore. And even if they said at that time, I think that all of those dudes are now second guessing themselves before they open their fucking mouths. And like, they might still think the same thing, but as long as they don't say it to perpetuate that idea among other people, I think, like we may never change some of these meatheads' minds, but we are not going to argue about somebody's right to exist or whether or not we exist, and our identities are not up for fucking debate. So I think that that's what what's happening now, is that there's, you know, a lot of comics and also allies as well that are saying enough's enough, not okay, not funny, go fuck yourself, and you know, we're not going to take it anymore. So I think that's where the current culture is at.
Madison, so obviously you have a number of shows, honey. You're ready, but you have talked about particularly a lot of the cis Black male comedians who have been on some ish over the last few years. There's so many. Lil Duval, Kevin Hart, of course, Dave Chappelle, many more. Can you talk about how this trend, maybe it hits differently for Black trans women?
Well, for me, you know that I tell filthy jokes because the filthy jokes are a part of my story, actually. So I think, you know, comedians usually take, and this is how we find out who's straight, okay? Because if all they're doing is telling trans jokes and gay jokes, we know where they've been, right? So, but for me, you know, I could say a really bad trans joke. However, it's mine. And I say this kind of like the way I use the analogy of the N word and the F word. The N word is ours as Black people. That belongs to us. And so if we choose to say it, we can say it. If we choose to banter amongst each other, we can say it because that is ours. The F word in the LGBT community belongs to us. It does not have the same type of power and energy behind it when we use it with each other. I just the way I feel. And so I don't particularly like being policed on the jokes that I tell when it comes to trans jokes, because sometimes the trans jokes, I'm telling the joke about myself. And I think it's funny, and I think that it conveys to the audience it's funny. And sometimes I get my back clawed out because I probably went, you know, deep, but I'm like, hey guys, it's mine. This is a part of me. So I should be able to kind of like Ian. Ian, tell me the name of your special again.
May the best cock win.
Right. May the best cock win. I fell out over here because that was so funny to me. You know, it was a play on everything. And did you get any trouble or did you get any backlash about it?
No, but I about the title or about the joke? The title.
Yeah, about the title. Well, you know, because it's the joke. That's
yeah,
joke, you know.
I got not backlash, but I got pushback from some networks that wanted to change it to the May the Best Man Win, which is for some of the other networks that aired it. They changed the name of it to that just so they could have it on their list of possible you could watch it, but not for the joke. Here's what I think. Like, if you are up there as a comic and you are sharing something about your identity or yourself or a story, it's inarguable. It's my story.
Right,
this is my funny story. We're not gonna argue about whether or not I can tell you that joke or not. It's my fucking story. So I think, you know, that's like when you own your story. You own these words and this language because it's part of your story. So I think that's why.
Yeah, like we were out. Like we were out yesterday at a restaurant, and there were some really sexy straight guys that were serving us at the table. And one of the gentlemen said to the other one, and he said, "Hey, don't go too hard on me. You know, I'm a trainee." And I said, "Oh shit, I thought I was the only trainee at the table." So everybody fell out, and by them being straight people, they froze. Like they just froze in stone, and like, oh, should I laugh? Should I? Like, what should I do? I was like, oh, honey, bring me my fucking drink, god damn it. You know, but everybody at the table, like, they just fell out. And I was like, I wonder if I would have said that, like, in the stand-up, would the trans community try to light me up a little bit about that? Like, because we're not supposed to. But it was just a play on words, and, you know. And if anybody on here knows me, I know that I'm extremely controversial. and I say exactly how I feel and how I want it, and don't give 1 or 2 fucks about it because I own all my shit, and ain't nobody gonna take nothing from me. And so, I just feel like that. Here's where I'm on the I'm seesawing. I feel like we as trans people, we don't want them straight people saying fuck shit about us or telling bad jokes about us. Let us tell the bad joke, god damn it. Because we know it's not coming from a place of malice. Does everybody agree with me, or we have any mixed emotions about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amaya,
so it was a good joke.
First, honey. Amaya, you got something to chime in here?
Oh, no. I'm just going with it.
I love it.
Amaya, but wasn't it a funny joke? Wasn't it a funny joke? If we were sitting at the table and then the guys did that stuff and they straight guys and that was my segue into telling them, hey guys, if you were interested later on, you do know that there's going to be 2 straws tonight, sweetie, in the glass.
Maddie.
Well, look. Why don't we go there? Because the Transgender District staff, honey, they want the juiciest of tea. So what is it like to date as a celebrated person who is trans? Who is in the DMs? Because the girls want to know.
Girl, that's my department, honey. The boys stay in her DM. They stay in her DM.
No, don't get me caught up. But what I will say is people. No, girl.
Go for it. Go, whatever you want to say, but I guess what is it like finding love as a celebrated trans person?
I think it's complicated. I think that there's people who like or who love the idea of you, but they don't fully understand what comes with you. I think that there are people and I'm sure we've all dealt with that. People who are infatuated, I think the bigger that you get or the more exposure that you have, I only say that to say that it's just tons and tons of people who may not be sincere, who may not have your best interest in mind, so kind of filtering through who actually cares, who actually cares about you and not just kind of who you are, or what you may bring to the table. I think that that's what makes it difficult. Did you see how I tried to kind of shift that to something?
It was smooth. Somebody's talking about your DMs, Madison. They said your DMs stay full, honey.
Oh, honey, listen. Yes, they do. My DMs was full even before I set foot on the television, honey. I was one of the first girls that showed a girl could tell you right now. A lot of times, a lot of those trans girls didn't like me because, honey, a lot of their boyfriends said, "Well, I was the first girl I ever seen on the video was T.S. Madison." So my inbox was full before I even popped out on the scene. But see, for me, I'm gonna take it back to the old school. If you ain't had that cash for the DOLL, we had no conversation. But moving forward now that we're here, now that we're TV fish and stuff like that now, what we're trying to do is move in a place where the value and the prices went up, but you can take me out on a date. You might can take me out on a date. You might, woo me, even though I know what you are, even though I know that you already saw what you saw, but you want to come and be like, oh God, you're so sweet. And I'm loving the success that you have in the television and a movie and this and the other. I'm like, get to the point. Are we going to open mouth kiss, honey, on Fox 5 News? What are we going to do? What are we doing here?
Look at this box.
I'm hot. I'm white. I'm 51. Remember that video? I'm hot. I'm white. I'm 51. What are we doing here? What are we going to do here?
I want to broaden this though a little bit about just in general how relationships with people change when you get that star shine. And Zoe, you've had that since a young age, right? How has it been for you to build relationships and friendships with folks when you're literally known within your community?
It's not the best. I mean, I like partially have a weird theory that my mother did all she did for me to be famous and to look like a very good parent. And a lot of shit I had to keep secret from the world. And it's I've always been used, and it's hardened me, and it's made me a person that doesn't trust anymore. And I partially believe that you can't trust anyone these days, and especially with teenagers I'm around and living with, with TikTok being so popular and with being famous. You can be famous in an instant off of a fucking video. So there's a lot of people that want to get that validation, whether it's because they need it because they never got it as a child, or whatever the fuck it is. A lot of people do want to use you if you have something that they think that they want, and it's been a really weird experience, having to realize that you don't need 7 friends, you just need yourself sometimes. And so it's definitely been weird, especially because I was dating someone for like 4 years during my rise of getting to where I am, I guess. And on the latter years of our relationship, after I did the craft and everything, there was just a lot of, oh, you can tell your friends that I work at this job now because I do something better than just work at Chipotle. And I was just like, bitch, I don't give a shit if you work at Chipotle. You have good dick. Like, what the fuck is the point? Like, So at the end of the day, I've had a lot of people try to me, and a lot of people feel the need to compete with me, but I just don't feel I just don't understand why people can't just see me as a person. And I feel like even nowadays, my own mom can't really value me as a person because of what I've achieved or what I've gotten materialistically, even though I'm like fucked up on the inside. So yeah.
Girl, you is reading. Zoe, you are really reading tonight, honey. You are giving it to your mama. You giving it to your trade, honey. You are reading. What is going on, sister? Let's hug you virtually, girl. What's the tea?
Well, okay, the tea is I was molested by my brother and his friends when I was a child, and when I told my mom about that when I was 14 and filming a documentary, she decided to tell me that I needed to lie to social workers who were going to come and try to remove my brother, who was of age, out of the house. And she told me that I had the option to either lie to social workers or get sent up for adoption. And because I had a career and because I wanted to be able to not go through the trans experience of being in the adoption centers, I lied to the world and basically, lived this life that my mom was this great supporting parent. And now, as an actress and as a person who got kicked out at 17, I want to speak my truth. And a lot of publications don't want to allow me to speak my truth because of what my mom has created for years and her narrative and the narrative that's been pushed onto media. And a lot of people think I'm a liar about a lot of different things because they don't know what I've gone through. And so it's a really weird thing. And I have been practicing a lot of healing, and I don't have any animosity towards my mom because I mean, she's a fucking person. But yeah, there's some real shit that I've gone through, and I just really appreciate the real, and I really appreciate when people, see me and let me just be myself, because I feel like a lot of the times I get misunderstood, and even happens by my mom. So I just appreciate people that are real and that want to take the time to, I don't know, fuck with me. You know what I mean? So
Right.
Thank you for
Right.
all of your
Oh my God. I
vulnerability
didn't.
and authenticity. I mean,
Yeah.
that is brave, especially being so young and early in your career. I can only imagine how much you sharing your truth can help so many other folks.
Yeah. Listen,
Thank
I
you.
didn't know that you was I didn't know you was over there dealing with a lot of that, sister, but I'm my arms is open and for you, girl.
Thank
Yeah.
you. And I think it's
You're
just, I
welcome.
wish I could get to express all of this. I like this, like, there's so many of us that go through this shit, but because of the narratives that we're given in TV shows or in documentaries or in this or that, they don't want to focus on what happens outside of what our experience is. And that's something that I've noticed getting older and going through this and being an activist or whatever. They just want to focus on, you had a supporting mom. That's great. You changed laws. We don't give a fuck that you were raped too and that your mom covered it up because you're just a trans person. So it's fucked up living in this experience. And going back to dating, It's dangerous as fuck too. It's just really scary. So there's a lot of shit, and I feel like a virgin again, and it's just really weird. I don't know. I haven't had sex in a while. I'm kind of horny.
I wanna say, this is why we have to have these conversations about the other side of visibility. There are so many narratives that only focus on the success or the exceptional. And whether you're just telling a story full of tragedy or you're just telling a story that's full of the success and the beautiful things, quote unquote, that is still dehumanizing in a different way. And so you are shining a spotlight on that. And I want to flag here as well, just for our audience, it takes a lot to be in front of a screen. It takes a lot to bare your soul. And so much gratitude to all of y'all for being on constantly trying to sound the alarm so people will see not only their possibility, but of course, just their humanity. I also want to flag too, we will be taking questions. And so if you have those, be thinking about those, because we're going to do those after this last question within our kind of structured panel. And I want to start, maybe we'll start with you, Nava. What do you want to see in terms of the future of Hollywood? How do we make Hollywood better for trans folks?
Well, I think that first and foremost, we definitely need trans people employed. We definitely need to have trans people playing trans roles, and those roles need to be leading roles. But we also need to see trans people considered for any position that they are aspiring to work in that is not necessarily a trans role, a trans project, a trans team, whatever it may be. And I think that the structural change that needs to happen in order to, enable that and to sustain that is that the means of production need to be decentralized. We are going to have to continue to build structures that are not reliant on the studio system to tell us what we're allowed to do. And so that takes time. That takes a lot of organization. And it takes a lot of solidarity and collective action with each other. So I'm hoping that we all keep thriving. I hope that we all keep connecting and little by little, I think that we'll get there, because it really has not been very long at all since we have even been started to be given the opportunities that we're now seeing. So I'm very excited what is possible.
I love that.
Yeah.
So great. All those things, decentralizing, those production systems, that just baffled me. I'm like, how do we do that? Let's do that right now. How do we? And you're like, oh yeah, it takes time to do that. So yeah, I'm curious. I don't know what those steps are, I'm like, that's awesome. Tell me what the steps are. I'll do it. I love following Sean King because he gives me a list of people to call. What do I have to do? So I guess I'm open to suggestions of how to decentralize.
Well, I want to flag real quick. Sean King ain't got no clout in these here parts, so we gonna get to a list of other folks.
Well, but when Sean King suggests who to call in Kentucky to get Breonna Taylor's some justice, I'm like, okay, I'm calling those numbers. I apologize for the Sean King mention, but he's definitely I like a to-do list is all I'm saying.
We're going to get you some folks, honey. We're going to get you a list. But, let's flip that question, Ian, as we kind of end off for folks. What makes you hopeful about the future for trans folks in Hollywood? Which is still a big question, but...
Are you asking me? I'm waiting for someone to. I was waiting for someone to chime in.
For you, Ian, go for it.
Oh, I want to chime in.
Yeah, please.
When he finished, I want to chime in.
This right here gives me hope. that I think that, you know, progress gives me hope. That we are looking at people on all sides of TV and film production here right now, and in different mediums and social media, and there is power, and the power that you all have, and vulnerability and trudging forward, and giving representation to those who still like are somewhere in the middle of Iowa and have never seen a trans person before, and now like feel like they're not going to leave the planet because you exist. That gives me hope that you all just give me tremendous hope that there's more and more to come and more growth to happen. And you all are just at the, you know, I feel like we're all just sort of at the, I know we've been around a long time, but this feels like still like a moment we were talking about in 2014, that moment, you know, with Laverne. I feel like it's been a slow continuation of that. And, but we're part of something really beautiful, and that it's going to, we are unstoppable, and it's going to continue. Go ahead, T.S. Madison.
Personally, I feel like that when you were looking for a step system when you were answering the question before, Ian, and I personally feel like, you know, that when we get the power, because as executive producer of my television show, it was very important for me that I hired Black and brown people to be a part of telling my story, and LBGT people, and you know, I had control over that. And I think that what's important and what's necessary is that when we start getting into those spaces where we're the producers, we're the directors, you know, we're the casting agent and stuff like that, that we reach back into our community so that we can fill those empty seats. You know, we can't be on the outside saying, oh, well, we want to see this, you know, see the change and this and the other, and then don't be a part of the change. So it's very important that, you know, it's great that we're getting these positions. That's a wonderful thing. But you're really not doing the work if you're not putting your hand back in there and pulling your sister or your brother. You know, yes, we have lots of straight friends, but we have more sisters and brothers that are out there who has talent, who are smart, who are great producers and directors that just don't have the opportunity or don't have a chance because, you know, no one's giving them the opportunity. If you know there's a casting, or if you know that there's a job opening, call your actress sister or tap your director sister on the show and say, hey, bitch, come over here and let me give you a job, because this is the way that the stories are going to. We know stories, and then our sister knows stories. Like, all of us here can put together a whole play or a movie from different perspectives of trans people, you know, not just me as an executive producer saying, okay, well, this is executive producer about me. I need Ian, I need Amaya, I need Zoe, I need you, sister, I need Nava, I need you, Raquel, you know. So we have to pull each other into these situations to make it happen. And that's how we start fixing Hollywood to work for us.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah. I want to kick it to you, Zoe, and then Amaya will give you the grand finale word. So Zoe, what do you think needs to change, and also just what is bringing you hope about the future?
Well, I think the change is happening gradually. I think there's a lot of arrogant white pieces of shit that I still have to see every day whenever I go onto set. And I think there's a lot of people that need to get fired from their jobs, personally. But I know that it's changing, and I know that it's gonna take a lot of people that look like what these white people want for trans people to be their monkey and be their act, so that they can start seeing us as normal human beings. And, you know, I feel like it's unfortunate for me, especially because
Zoe.
I like Zoe.
I think
Hello?
Zoe got the sensor, honey. You back,
Oh,
Zoe?
hello. Am I here? Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Hi.
Yes.
Basically what I wanted to say is that I'm not the tell all trans experience, but because I am digestible and appealing to the white person's eye, they give me these roles and they offer me these roles that of course are of Latina descent, but are they more, do they talk a certain way that I don't talk? Do they have the accent and do they have the slang that I don't have? And would I audition for those roles? Never. Because if they want someone like that, why the fuck are they coming to the little whitewashed trans girl who's fucking lived in America all her life and has, privileges left and right? Why the fuck am I going to do that? So, as a person, I feel like, another thing that we all have to do is like, once we've made it, we also have to recognize what actually is our privilege and what isn't. Because if we take spaces for people that, need this opportunity, how are we helping other trans sisters and brothers? But I do have hope, and I do know that they are wanting to start working with us because it gives them coin. And so, you know what, opportunity is everything, and I think that things are going to change, and I really do think that it's a matter of us creating our own tradition and making our own studios and companies and making our own scripts and taking it into our own hands to write our stories. And it's going to have to be that while also getting what we can, because if we want to show them that we're not going to just take out of their hands, we have to do it on our
Mm-hmm.
All right, independence. And for you, Amaya, the final word on what needs to change and also what's giving you hope about the future.
So I feel like everybody pretty much touched bases on everything, but I think that there's a lot that we need to change. But I think that what gives me hope is that, oh wait, because I hear it echoing. Yeah, like I feel like what gives me hope is that the change is just happening every day. We are making our ways into the rooms, we are writing stories, we're filming, we're shooting. I mean, we are doing the work. So that's what keeps me excited. Because if I look back, what, a decade ago, I mean, we've come leaps and bounds. But it's a lot that needs to change. I mean, don't get me wrong, and again, it ties into being given sprinkles and then being made to feel as if we should be appreciated, you know? We are talented individuals. We are beautiful individuals. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we deserve the same rights that everyone else has. Period.
Well, thank you so much, Amaya, and thank you all for just being so vulnerable, so real on this panel, sharing your true thoughts with the world. And we need more spaces like this, more real spaces where we can pull that veneer off, pull that glean off, and just bare our souls in all of their truth. I think it's understated the impact that you all have had on so many people's lives. So forget the statement, if you can change one person's life, that's enough. Like, clearly each and every single one of you have changed numerous folks' lives and of course paved a new course for the future. And here we're gonna transition. Another joke. I'm not a comedian, but I gotta make a joke every time I say the word.
Let's make a truth. One, we don't need Caitlyn Jenner being the governor of California. We don't need her. We need her to sit her motherfucking ass down somewhere. We don't need that. We need her to stay in her place, honey, and learn the rest of her. Learn the wig quality first, okay? Then we need her to rest her body. That's all we need. We don't want her being the governor of California. I don't want no more Donald Trump folks in the office, nowhere in Hollywood. She could sit her long foot ass down somewhere. I'm sorry, I had to get that out while I could get it out.
No, thank you. I mean, she is definitely an example of how you can be a gatekeeper even if you're trans, and live in your privilege. We have a question. I don't know how I feel about it, but if anyone actually feels, comfortable answering this question that we have, as trans women and men, could you date someone the opposite sex but trans? So I guess the question is, who on here can speak to what it's like to be a trans person dating another trans person? All right, Amaya.
What?
So it wasn't something deep and official, and it's kind of been private because it's my business. But a friend and I, like a few years ago, she was transitioning, like as well as the same time as I was. So we decided to have a baby. So we began to attempt that, before we both made certain permanent procedures. And I think the feelings got involved. And I say that to say that it's like, trans people are people. Like I personally am just attracted to attractive people. So it's not really that odd or far-fetched, Like I'm a woman, she's a man, I mean, it works.
All right. Well, thank you.
Wait, so is the question like, can a trans girl date a trans guy?
Yes, I mean we're talking in very binary terms, but if you want to chime in, please,
Yeah.
and then we'll go to one on topic.
Yeah, my ex was a trans man, so I mean, I feel like you can date anyone however you want. I guess it's kind of a no-brainer, but I appreciate the question. But yeah, like I think you can date whoever you're attracted to, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Girl, we
Sorry,
sick of the damn trade. Let the trade go, honey. Shit. We tired of the motherfucking trade. Flush the trade, child.
Flush the trade. That's a new hashtag. All right, we're gonna jump here. Wow. Okay, so someone is asking, looking back, is there anything that you would do differently in your career while working in entertainment?
I wouldn't think that half of these bitches were my friends. I would not think that. I would come into the mentality of like, these bitches are here to try to throw me off and to size me up and all this shit. And so I just have to be professional and lie to their face just as much as they're gonna lie to my face. It's not a real friendship that I'm building with half of the people I'm working with. And that's the advice I give to my other trans sisters and brothers and theys and thems who are getting into this industry is like, you just have to rub elbows and then wash it off afterwards because no one's here to like actually be your homegirl as much as they act like it. They're fucking actors. That's my experience.
Oh, all right.
Hail to the Guardians. Hail to the Guardians.
Anyone else want to speak to what they might have done differently in their career?
If y'all don't sit the fuck down.
No, Amaya, we can hear you.
So like to either some kids or some pets. No, but go ahead. You look like you're about to say something.
No, I was just laughing.
I'm so sorry. I thought my camera was muted. So my cat just disconnected my light. My apologies. I am so sorry. I have 2 wild cats and they are literally like running around. So I thought the camera was on mute and now I'm embarrassed because I was being a mean black mom.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. Well, okay. So our next question is, if you could give advice to young trans folks who are looking to a career in Hollywood, what would that advice be? Ian, do you want to chime in here?
I would say, I started later and I didn't have that thing in me that people think it's going to happen overnight. It's a lot of work. I was in this industry in LA and Hollywood for 10 years before things started to really bubble. I got a couple things, but just don't ever think that that thing that you got is going to be the thing. It's one of the things that you got, and you're going to get more things, and you work towards getting more things. I would encourage people to not think that there's any one thing that's going to make you, but to really like, it's a process, and it's not going to be this one thing that's going to make you famous, or maybe it does for a minute, but on to the next. It's a career. It's not a moment, it's a career. So hang in, hang tough, and keep working towards the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Nava, you're nodding.
Yeah.
What was your advice?
Same, and I'm also taking that advice. So thank you, thank you, Ian. I think that this also speaks to the previous question. I wish that I had, started training sooner. I've been very fortunate to do community theater, and I just kind of learned outside the traditional routes that people usually take in acting in Hollywood. But it, as much as things are changing, and you can always try to do something new, time does matter. And so my advice is to study and work on your craft and do that as soon as possible and for as long as possible.
Yeah, Zoe, go ahead.
Did you say my name?
Yeah, you. I thought you were trying to say something a second ago.
Well, you read my mind. Yeah, I definitely agree with everything that's been said. And also, like, another thing is like, I think Ian kind of touched on this a little bit, but one thing I had to learn is that, there's going to be really high highs and then really low droughts in your career as a person that's entering this industry, because, we're not always the moment, and we're not always the things that are making the ticket sales, or we're just not always what someone is looking for, especially as minorities like this, like trans people, like. So I would say, honestly, expect the unexpected, and also don't be afraid to get a day job. Don't be afraid to, make your money the way you need to survive, because, like, I thought the craft was going to save my life. Bitch, I was wrong. So, yeah, I would just say keep making your money the way you need to make it. Do what you want to do for yourself, and just keep taking the risks, and don't be afraid to, humble yourself sometimes and get a fucking regular job. You're not the most famous person on the planet because you were in one movie. You know what I mean? So, yeah, definitely that.
Can I add to the last thing I would say is have something else that brings you joy that is also not in showbiz.
Yeah.
I do, like, it's whether it's visiting the horses at a horse sanctuary or whatever that is for you, that other thing, you should have something else that brings you joy outside of, the focus of showbiz, so that when showbiz is letting you down in that moment, or you feel like it is in that moment, or you're not getting what you want in that moment, that you can pivot into something that gives you joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And find a tarot reader. Get a healer.
A tarot reader, yes. Amaya, is there any advice that you have for younger folks trying to get into Hollywood?
So I think the advice I would give would be not to kind of compromise yourself. And when I say compromise, I speak from personal experience. I feel like me, being blessed with such a great opportunity, like I almost felt scared to move or to speak or to say the wrong thing. I was just so happy to be there and be a part. And in a sense, I was doing myself a disservice because I was almost kind of washing myself out, I would say to be authentically themselves, to speak up in the moments that you need to speak up. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting major feedback. It's just me.
There is feedback, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
We can hear you pretty well.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like I'm getting feedback. That's the thing. Just do yourself.
Absolutely. And Madison, do you have any advice that you would want to share? I think we're all getting feedback.
Personally, to the younger girls, I'd like for them to understand, if you feel like that you got to eat a bitch up, eat them up. Do not let people tell you that you have to monitor yourself, because whatever role, whatever part, whatever is yours, you're going to get it. Be your authentic self. Know that this ain't your only job. Have yourself a skill set. Have you some income coming in from every different place, because this ain't the end all be all, okay? And when you get in the dough, pop, make that thing happen. And during your downtime, work on the next big thing that's gonna go off, girl. And that's the way I feel about it, because I know that when I walk into a situation, that it could be a season, it could be 2, it could be 3, it could be damn a cameo, whatever. But I'm already established, and that's what I want my girls out there that's coming up be already established, so that when all that stuff closed down, you still eating off of what you've already built for yourself, and know that you bring the value to the situation. When you know that you bring the value to the situation, you're good. That's how I feel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madison.
Mm-hmm.
So this question for anyone, is there anything in entertainment that you haven't accomplished that you would want to, or that you're looking forward to accomplishing?
I want to be a big tittied bitch that dies in a horror movie. In the opening scene, I want that Drew Barrymore, horrible scene, because personally, I think it's fucked up. Horror is really fucked up in a lot of ways, and they love to make us feel so scared and sorry and horny for these brittle little white girls who are running through the fucking hallways getting chased by a murderer. But then when it's a trans person, a black person, any type of fucking minority, the deaths are always made as a death in the movie. So I want that serious and also like really just gut-wrenching murder death scene in a horror movie. Like that's my goal. I want to humanize us by also it's a weird sadistic thing I have in my head, but I would love to get murdered on screen and be hot while doing it.
All right. Okay, that's on the bingo for things I did not see coming. Anyone else, what haven't you accomplished that you're like itching to accomplish in your career?
I mean, like most immediately, I really would like to direct a feature film. And so I'm just trying to write it. Yeah, that's hopefully what I'll do next.
And I can't wait to see it. Ian, you were raising your hand. What do you want to accomplish?
I think that I've wanted to play like an action superhero of some sort, like with like some sort of like I don't know, massive pecs. I don't know. Some sort of like where I have to wear a suit and I have some superhero, powers and yeah, but has but major action. Like I want to have to like work out hardcore for like 4 months before I start filming, kind of thing. Something, I don't know, something like that, something on that level.
Everyone's got a chest fetish tonight. What is going on, honey? What about you, Amaya? You were nodding as Ian was talking about the superhero. Is that a dream of yours?
Yes, I definitely want to do something supernatural. Yeah, like an Avengers type of like a superhero. Give me some magical powers. That's why I love Zoe and the Craft, because I want stories like that, some sci-fi thriller, like a woodland fairy, like a water nymph. I mean, hell, like anything, but something like magical. Like I think that that's really kind of what I'm looking forward to. And also kind of directing. I think that when trans stories are told by trans people and directed by trans people, I think that they're done authentic. Like I think that that's when they are done like authentic. I'm sorry, I can't even say the word. That's when they are done authentically. Excuse me. I think I'm still a little embarrassed from screaming at my cats and y'all heard me, but I'm holding it together.
Of course, it's okay. And what about you, Madison? What are you itching to accomplish? I mean, you've done so much this year. I'm sure it was on your bucket list. Are you? I think you're muted. Oh, we can hear you now. Go ahead.
You had muted me. I am going to be, and I'm saying this because I'm not going to say what I want to be. I'm going to be a badass villainess that's gonna fuck shit up so hard that they're gonna be like, man, T.S. Madison did that. Like I wasn't even expecting that to come from her. She did that, And I always wanted to be Ursula, and I've always wanted you to be Ariel, Amaya. So I just personally feel like that's something that we should most definitely dig into doing, without getting fucked up by Disney, because I know they get ready to do the Little Mermaid story, but I've always felt like that we would have locked that shit up, honey.
Yeah, I would love to do that. We should do something.
Yeah.
Really.
I was gonna say that Amaya is our community mermaid for sure. So I love that reference. And also, I mean, look, we got some elements here. So I think what needs to happen is Nava needs to create a superhero film, feature film. We got our superheroes team. We got Amaya and Ian. Then we got the villain in Madison, and then Zoe, you can die in the first scene.
You're too late.
That they avenge.
You're too late. She's already dead. God damn it.
All right. Oh my gosh. Okay, we've got a little bit more with the questions. About 15 minutes left, y'all. So let's jump down and talk about what is the mark or legacy that y'all want to leave on Hollywood? So this is a big question that probably should have been in the original questions, but don't y'all shade me. And then I'm gonna kick this over. Let's start with you, Amaya, this time.
Why me? Okay.
Because the sound is on point now. We good.
Okay. So what legacy would I want to leave behind? I think that it ties into kind of what I said earlier. I thought it was a point where you either had to be stealth or you had to pick kind of one or the other. And I feel like the legacy I want to leave is that you standing in your truth, or you standing, proud in your transness doesn't take away from your womanhood, because that was something that I personally battled with, when I first posted a side-by-side picture, a TBT. I did that because I didn't want people to hold something over my head. I was dating a guy, and it was at the point where people were trying to spill my tea. So I tried to get in front of it. I'm comfortable with who I am. This is it. This is, who I was. This is who I am now. But I say that to say when I did that, a few of the older trans girls, and it's not, I don't feel like they did it out of malice. I felt like they did it because that's what we were programmed to do. They hit me up girl, what are you doing? And you're not supposed to do that. And people are not supposed to know. And I told them then, and I say it proudly now, because I know that I wasn't, I was in fact right. And I can claim my past. I don't have to throw away the person that I was. I don't have to not share my memories, or not I can be the woman that I am today while still acknowledging everything that I've been through. And that doesn't take away from my womanhood at all. So I think that message, and I think with what I've been through, that's what I would, hope to leave behind, that you can be authentically you. You don't have to choose or pick or hide, just be yourself and say, fuck it.
Absolutely. Well, Amaya, I want to thank you for bringing that up, because when you posted that side by side, that went viral.
Remember, girl, it was crazy though. And it wasn't met with the same energy that it's met with today, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have to go through pain, and sometimes we have to do things to make it better for the next generation. When I posted my side by side, it was not cheers and congratulations, but it was me living in my truth. And now I can sit here today and see that model is used, and it's absolutely right. You don't have to be stealth. You don't have to hide. You can stand proud. I don't want to get emotional, but yes, y'all, girl, Raquel, you were there. Shit was so crazy. And to look back at that, now I'm happy that I didn't move to a different country or live a stealth life, or not be proud or stand in my transness. I'm trans. I'm a transgender woman, but I'm a woman nonetheless. And neither one of those cancel out or affect the other or make it difficult for me. I don't have to fucking choose.
Absolutely. Wow. I'm just gonna take a beat on that, because that is beautiful. Okay. All right. Let's kick it to you, Zoe. What is the mark or legacy you want to leave in Hollywood or make in Hollywood?
The legacy I want to lead is that, you know, I did this for myself, but I also did this for everyone else who wants to accomplish what they want. I definitely don't want to be that person that, you know, is the token that gets saved because of whatever fucking privilege or whatever fucking exception that they have in this community, and not look back at the community around me and not do anything for them as well. I definitely want to leave a legacy of like almost like I kind of was trying to be a mother for these hoes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to make sure that everyone knows that, like, they have the opportunity to do this as well. And that, and although I, you know, was able to do it, everyone else can too. And I also want to leave a legacy of me being like, you know, I'm totally down to just be the horror queen of the fucking Hollywood. I don't know. I want to kind of be the next Elvira, but I also do want to be Jean Grey in a Marvel movie. So either way, I just want everyone to know that my legacy is not my own standalone legacy, and that I couldn't have made it here without any of the people that I've looked up to on my life, and with all the people that have hurt me and who have, you know, just been there to physically help me. So I just definitely want it to be a legacy of community and hope and inspiration for everyone else, because I've been able to find that in many different aspects, and I think that, you know, it should go a long way, and I think there's enough room for everyone. So yeah, if I could just be a hot girl who cared about everyone else too, that'd be cool.
All right, multifaceted. Thank you, Zoe. What about, actually, maybe we'll end off on this question with you, Madison, but I'm gonna kick it to I'll kick it to you, Ian, right now.
I was gonna say, I think I would like my legacy or my mark to be that I had the most of the people that I came in contact with, that I had a high ratio of love conversions of trans people. Does that make sense? Like, where I for anybody who had preconceived ideas or a miswritten narrative about trans people, that I convert them to out of their thinking and into love and some understanding, and maybe not all understanding, but and generally probably through humor and like stand up and, you know, storytelling. I think that that's what my specialty on stage is converting people, that the moment that they hear trans, they start churning their old ideas of what they think that is, and that I give them a new context, and at the end, all they have is love. So I would like to be a love converter. That's so. I like to be able to access people. You know, people think that stand-up comedy is not a very intimate experience, but the truth is, when you get into a comedy club or a stage setting, and people in the audience, at the first moment, they might be coming in from work or whatever, and their shoulders are kind of up by their ears. They're a little bit tense, but you tell them a joke and they relax a little bit. They start laughing, and you have this exchange. It's a very intimate exchange. And that's when I go in and I'm able to access their hearts in a way that you wouldn't think is a thing that you can do in comedy, but it is. And it's a way that you can change people's minds without them even fucking knowing it. So I guess that's how I think I would do it.
Absolutely. One giggle, one chuckle, one laugh at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without ever having shit on myself in the process, because my jokes are never like that. My jokes are never self-deprecating. Like, I just tell my story. But, you know, I think it all can be done without crapping on myself and without making them love me for hating myself. It's not what I do. I make them love me because I love me and I'm comfortable with me. And I make you laugh at all the crazy shit in the in-between. So anyway.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Ian. Nava, what's your take on this question? What is the mark or legacy that you want to make in Hollywood?
Well, real quickly, I just wanted to say to Amaya that I remember when all of that was going on. I saw it on the internet and it was something that we talked about. And I just wanted to say that, you know, watching you continue to push through that. And then when you ended up being on television and the mermaid pictures and the hair and witnessing you speak your truth and continue to grow into this beautiful woman that you are, gave me so much inspiration. And I know that it was not easy. And so it just, I hope you know how proud it makes me feel that you did stay and that you did fight. And I hope that you keep going because it really did so much for so many of us, myself included. Sorry, I'm oh my God. I know, I'm sorry. But the question, the marker legacy I want to leave in Hollywood. I hope that through my work, I can encourage people to have more empathy in their relationships, in their work, and in their politics, because we are all always going through so much, and especially as trans people and multiply if we have other marginalized identities. And so we need to be building bridges and we need to be finding ways to care for each other in better ways. And I hope that people, you know, are able to tap into that.
Ooh, child, honey, not these tears, y'all.
Girl, I am in tears, baby. Thank you so much. Like, can I just say thank you so much? That just meant so much to me, you know, because you never know, like, and I think that that's what makes it worthwhile when, though the journey may have been painful, like in stories like that, it's you saying things like that to let me know that it, you know, was worth it. Somebody had to go through that. Somebody, thank you. Just thank you so much. Just, you know what I mean? I'm almost just, I'm not really like a crier. So I think that that's what I'm more so even shocked at you, because it's just so rough. I know that we all know that. I know that we've all like had our difficult journeys and stuff like that. And that just means so much to me. I think.
Oh, a beautiful moment. All right, Miss T.S. Madison Hinton, Maddie, honey, live on Christian Mingle, darling. I'm gonna let you, you know, round us out on this question. What is the mark or legacy you want to make in Hollywood?
I want to let a bitch know that I did it my way. Period. That my way, that's it, that's all. I didn't have to conform. I ain't have to stop being me. I walked in the door and was exactly me, with whatever was on my resume and then some. When they told me I couldn't get in, I put my foot on the door and bust the bitch in. So that's that's the mark that I want to leave on Hollywood, that you can do these things your way.
Yeah.
Everything else will form to you. If it's for you, you gonna get it. Boom.
Boom. That's it. That's a word. I want to thank you for closing us out, Madison. And thank you to all of our beautiful, brilliant, powerful panelists. Y'all have done so much already, paved so many ways out of no ways already. And y'all gonna continue to do that. So I know that I can't wait to see the rest of the doors that y'all continue to break down. And I know our audience, you know, it's just a blessing to be able to connect with you in this real human way, and know that y'all are ours, honey. This is our community, right? So no matter what everyone else has to say about our community, all we got at the end is each other. And this conversation is a testament to that. So thank you all. Thank you to all of our attendees and visitors and viewers and followers. Please continue to support all of the work of our amazing panelists here. And of course, continue to support the Transgender District in San Francisco for creating spaces like this where we can talk about our own culture with our own words, thoughts, and hearts and minds. So thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, y'all. Good night.
Bye, sisters. Bye,
Bye.
brothers.
Bye, baby.
Bye, y'all.